We're back here in the final segment of our program, Jones and Company, and we're learning a whole lot about Rotary in the Bahamas, Rotary International, and we're speaking with Felix Stubbs and Barry Rosson. We wanted to know how you're going to make it in this COVID-19 environment. It's going to be with us for a long time. And how are you going to fellowship? You have meetings every week, I believe, in your clubs. How are you going to keep the clubs going?
We've been using online platforms, Zoom mostly.
And meetings by Zoom?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The first one we did when we started and realized we had to meet online. That's the only way we can get together. We had over 400 people on there. And what we were able to do is bring in the current president of Rotary International, the president-elect of Rotary International, directors of, so we were able to bring speakers we never could have had under different circumstances. That's an opportunity. So now my club is getting about 100 people every week, every Friday. They don't miss, and they come half an hour early and stay half an hour late just to have that fellowship you talk about.
They come online, you mean?
Online.
Yeah. So you get the fellowship online, but in addition to that, like for instance, in addition to the 4 hours I told you about, I spend another maybe hour or two visiting other clubs meetings. And so I've been visiting meetings all across the Caribbean that I wouldn't normally visit, getting to know a lot more Rotarians. Many of them visit our club meetings, many of them visit Barry's club meetings. And like you said, the advantage is we have been able to have access to speakers that you wouldn't normally have had, because these are some prominent global people who don't think anything about sitting in the house for half an hour, getting on the phone and chatting with the Rotary Club.
You have to be real committed, Felix Stubbs, for this to happen. To get online, to visit some club in Jamaica or Barbados.
When you become a Rotarian,
yes,
you become committed, right? It's like an addiction.
Is that
because
right?
You want to do as much as you can to help as many people as you can, right? And when you go to bed at night, sometimes say, did I do enough today to honor my commitment to Rotary? How would I say when I go to bed? And you feel good when you can say, yeah, I did as best I can. Because you know what it is to see a smile on somebody's face because you did something to help make their day? It's infectious and it's addictive.
So you had a super kind of addiction to be in charge of Rotary International.
I apologize to my wife quite often for such an addiction, because
Yes.
it does pull me away from family times. But yes, I just love being able to look at an audience, talk to them about what we do, get them passionate about something. And when I see the gleam in their eye, I know they're going to go do it. And that just keeps me going.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But see, in addition to being able to help your communities, right, there's so many other benefits that you can get from Rotary, right? And I was talking to some young folks the other day, try to think of something. I thought of 20 different reasons why you should join Rotary, right? But things you don't think about. Like, for instance, let's say you go to Florida on a visit, you lose your passport. You can call the Bahamian embassy, right? And they'll probably try and get you your passport back. I can pick up the phone and look for a Rotary Club and call a Rotarian who can come and pick me up, maybe take me for lunch, maybe put some money in my pocket so I can get a meal for the next day. That's the kind of things Rotarians will do for each other.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Just last night, I don't know if you know Deandra Cartwright. She's diplomatic service.
Oh, yes.
Moved to New York City. We were trying to get her in our Rotary Club, but now she's gone to New York. She said, but I love what you do in Rotary. So Corinne Laville from my club called me. I called the director from that part of the world. He called the local Rotary Club, who called her. Last night she was inducted into the New York City Metro Rotary Club. And I would say there's 10 Bahamians online to wish her well. I mean, the connection makes us unique.
But you have this thing about attendance, your record for attendance in Rotary. And so given COVID-19, how do you deal with that? Because you get points when you have perfect attendance, yes?
We moved away from that. We're a lot more flexible.
Have you moved
today.
away?
We really have.
Okay.
We're a lot more flexible today. Today it's more about come whenever you possibly can. We'd like to see you at least half the time. But do service with us. Join our projects. Do things that are helping our community be better. That's really what's important. Let's focus on making and doing good work. Just to measure you because you're at the meeting every week and that's all you ever do, that doesn't make you a good Rotarian.
In fact, the role I'm playing now with Rotary is what they call an assistant Rotary coordinator at the zone level, right? So I have responsibility for club flexibility in the Southeast United States and the Caribbean, focusing primarily on trying to make sure our clubs stay flexible. And one of the things we preach to members is that we no longer want to measure attendance. We want to measure involvement or engagement. If you engage, then we're okay. All right? It doesn't matter whether you come to 50% of the meetings or 75% of the meetings. You're going to come anyway because you engage. And engagement means you're actually going out there and doing something in the community. You're involved in your club. You're involved beyond the club. You're being a good Rotarian. That's what we want.
But technology and the access to technology, using technology is very important, and so a Rotarian would have to be a little technologically savvy, like you, Felix Stubbs, in order to participate in all of these Zoom meetings
Not necessarily.
and projects?
Not necessarily. In fact, getting on Zoom is easy. I mean, especially now that we're going with a lot of younger people, I mean, they're teaching us how to use these things, right? But the only disadvantage we have right now with COVID, with the lockdown, we couldn't actually go out into the field and do field work, right? So a lot of our support will come remotely, whether it's either through writing a check or going out and mentoring somebody. But now that the lockdown is about to end, we'll be seriously back out in the streets and doing the things we normally do. So except for that, I think, Rotary is stronger today than it was before COVID, I think.
Is that right?
We are. And I tell you, Felix mentioned our zone. We are zoned with most of the east coast of the United States and all the Caribbean. And our district of 10 countries, when it comes to membership development, #1 out of all those districts. And that's
For the last 3 years, by the way.
that's some 30 districts. Yeah.
So you found the glue to keep a whole lot of Rotarians together, and that is seeing these projects executed and come to fruition.
Yeah.
And feeling them. You want to touch them in the heart. You could talk all you like and get the intellectual side of service. You want to touch people's heart. Once you do that, you've got them for life.
Well, let me give you an example of how committed Rotarians are. So last year, when Barry was president, the president would ask someone to go to some of the clubs to be his representative because he can't travel to all the clubs when they're doing changeovers. So I went to a district in Pennsylvania to do a speech on his behalf and met a couple of Rotarians there. Got a call from them 4 weeks ago. They want to fly 75 of them, come to the Bahamas, go to Abaco for a week, and spend their holiday fixing or doing projects in Abaco.
Interesting.
At their expense.
It brings me neatly to the question of cost to Rotarians. Being a member of Rotary can be costly, as you've just expressed.
But it's only as costly.
Your trip to Pennsylvania, room and board.
Well,
Rotary International took
Rotary
care of
International
that.
paid for the airline ticket and they paid for the room.
Okay.
Right? But the expense can only, whatever you can afford to do, right? So not everybody may be able to afford to go to, well, the conference was supposed to be in Hawaii this year. So not every Rotarian will be able to afford to go to Hawaii for an international conference, right? So you don't go. And not everybody can afford to go to a district conference, but the things that you can do locally, right? So I always tell people who want to join my club, I say, look, the annual cost of being a Rotarian is, the mandatory cost rather, for Rotary International dues is $68 right now a year, all right? My club dues, including that $68, is $325, because that includes $35 for district and then something for club administration, right? So for as little as $325 a year, you can become a member of my Rotary Club. And you can do all kinds of service projects and not spend another dime. But as you begin to see the impact that you have, you want to do some other things. So you do buy raffle tickets in your club to raise funds for administration. You do want to spend money to help buy food for some primary school because their kids are going to school hungry. So you spend as much as you can, all right? And I remember Barry saying to me one time, being a good Rotarian means you spend until it hurts.
Spend until it hurts.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what it's all about. It's got to be meaningful for you. And if you can't afford more than what the basic is of $300 some, then don't do it. But go out and give us your manpower. So being a good Rotarian is more than just writing checks. It's about getting out there and helping us paint the homes or doing the roof or whatever you can do. Give us some of your skills. And as you get older and you have a little better financial aptitude, then you start helping financially.
What about mentorship? I'm involved in a program. Dr. Ellison Ramming is coordinating it. Mentorship for young men. We have a serious problem in our country with antisocial behavior, crime, for instance. Where's Rotary in that kind of thing in terms of the socialization of young people?
When I was president of Rotary last year, I met with the president of UNICEF, and she challenged me for Rotary to mentor 1 million people over the next 2 years. Now, we won't get to 1 million, but that is one of the projects we're trying to do around the world, and we need to do it here too. It's been more challenging in the Bahamas than other countries, but I totally agree with you. We need to mentor. We concentrate more on mentoring our Rotaractors, our young adults, so that we can help them develop their leadership skills. And we use Toastmasters. We have a partnership with Toastmasters now, so that Toastmasters has written their leadership expertise in Rotary language, and we're launching that specifically to the Rotaract clubs so we can help them develop their leadership skills. That's a great partnership. But mentoring should be a lot more of what we do, and I think that's something we need to do better with, to be honest.
As a matter of fact, just to add to that, we just recently added an online course to our e-learning center on mentoring, so the Rotarians can go there and do an online course to know how to become good mentors.
And so you are involved, you have been involved in mentoring, and I know one of your clubs has also been involved in dealing with violence in the community.
All the clubs. We actually partnered with a group called Cure Violence out of Chicago. Again, when I was up there, that's where headquarters is. I went to the University of Chicago and I heard this person talk about his organization called Cure Violence, where communities that have problems with violence stop punishing everybody, instead go find out what the reason is and cure the core reasons. And we've had them come to Nassau twice to meet with us, to meet with the police force, and talk about how can we incorporate their philosophy into what we do here. So we're still working on taking that to the next level, but I think that's very important. That can help us a lot.
Almost for the last hour, we've been talking about what you do and funding and all of that. How do you measure your impact in the community? What measurement do you use to say, well, we've been impactful. This thing is working. Rotary is working.
In fact, that's a very good question. And when we go into doing a project, right, there's some steps that we have to follow. In fact, we have a specific training on terms of teaching people how to do projects. And that would mean, first of all, you have to do an assessment to make sure that the projects you want to do is something that the community needs. Right? Then you have to do what they call a baseline assessment in terms of what is your baseline, so that you'll know what progress you're making as you move this project along. And then you need to also make sure that every project we do is sustainable, so that we know that we can be in every project for the rest of our lives. So once we start a project, we want to know that at some point in time, we can walk away from that project and it can sustain itself. That's the goal.
Very good. Well, I hope you are successful in what you are doing in Abaco, because you're starting this Abaco project, or you have started it.
We've been working since the beginning.
Yes.
But now with the barriers finally open, the borders open, we're going to be able to do a lot more. In fact, we just talked to Kent Hutton down there they're starting the Abaco Foundation, one Abaco, and we're going to work with them as well. So we're working with boots on the ground so that we do the right thing that they need.
And this is going to take how long to get these 50 houses built or whatever? Or
as long as it takes.
As long as it takes, eh?
We were in Haiti after the earthquake for 8 years. If we could do it there, we'll be here as long as we have a dime to spend. We'll be in Abaco and Grand Bahama.
Well, I hope people who are watching this program and listening would be inspired by the work that you do, and that you would get even more support in our community. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.
Good. Thank you for watching and listening to our program. Good evening, everyone.